we can get going. All right. Can everybody see that? Awesome. So my name is Clint McManus. I am the project manager on the consultant side for the East End Bike Plan. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining today for the first community advisory group meeting. Before we get started, I wanted to first say that we are recording the meeting. So just a heads up on that. If you wanted to turn your camera off, you're welcome to, although we'd love to still see your faces. And I think I see the county joining now. And this is the reason we're recording is just in the time of COVID, we just want to make sure that we can get as many people to be able to see what's going on with the plan as possible. So we'll be posting the recording to the website. And before we get started, I'd like to open it up to the county and the district if they'd like to say any welcoming words to kick us off.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. This is Jorge Bustamante. Hi, Clint. I thought I was late. I'm glad I'm not too late. It's good timing to say hello. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm really excited about this East End Bike Plan. This is something that Commissioner is really excited about and supportive of, and I appreciate everyone dedicating some time to join the community advisory group. Y'all were chosen because of your involvement with the community, and we see you as leaders and promoters of making the East End District more bikeable and Precinct 2 more bikeable. So I really appreciate everyone's time. I don't know if we have Veronica or anyone from the East End District. I'll pass it on to them.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Veronica Chapagorchinsky. I'm the president of the East End District at the office, hence the mask. I just wanted to thank everybody for your time. We know that your time is really valuable. We've been working on this collaboration to get it funded for almost 2.5 years. And I remember when we had a group of folks come out with the commissioner, and it was cold, but he was a champ and got on a bike with us and toured the neighborhood and how we could make it better. So we're grateful for the partnership with Precinct 2 in Harris County, and we're grateful for your leadership. This is a community-based design, so the district and I will mostly be quiet because we want your influence, your input on how to get the best plan possible for the East End. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge, and thank you, Veronica. Just a quick reminder, the meeting's being recorded for those of you who just joined, and if you don't mind, if you're not speaking, just remember to put yourself on mute. That would help make sure everybody can hear. So again, my name is Clint McManus. I'm the project manager on the consultant side for Traffic Engineers, Inc. We'll do a full round of introductions, so don't worry about that. I just wanted to make sure you knew who was speaking. Again, just reminding you of the meeting's being recorded. Real quick, I just wanted to go over the agenda. So as I mentioned, we'll start with introductions. And then from there, we wanted to explain what the purpose of the plan is and discuss the scope that we're going to use in order to help us achieve that goal. We'll talk a little bit about what we're hoping you can help us with as the community advisory group to help make the plan stronger. And from there, we wanted to discuss our guiding principles for the approach to the plan. Then follow that with an introduction to the study area. I know that most of you are really intimately familiar with the study area, but we wanted to share a little bit about that. And then we'll close out talking about the community engagement. Our first event is actually coming up in a couple of weeks, so we wanted to get y'all aware of that and also see if you can help out in some specific ways. And then we'll close out with any discussion and any questions that y'all may have. So we'll do introductions. I'll start with the sponsors of the plan, and then we'll move on to the community advisory group and then the consultant team. So for everybody who does their introduction, if you could just say your name and your the organization that you're working with, and if you could be really brief and give us one thing that you're hoping to get from an East End bike plan, with the understanding that obviously this is you're learning about it today, but just thinking about what the an East End bike plan means to you. What would you like to see from it? So I'll let Brian start the introductions off.
Thanks, Clint. I'm Brian Brown, a senior planner with Harris County Engineering Department. Really excited to work with Jorge and the Precinct 2 team, as well as Veronica and the East End team, just on a cool collaborative project. These don't always come along very often, and so when I have a chance to work together to make a community such as the East End better as a result of these two funding partners, it's always a pleasure and a privilege, and really just look forward to working with the community, as Veronica said, to capture what's wanted and what's needed, and what will set the course for the best future for the East End District stakeholders. So, thank you.
Jorge.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Jorge Bustamante, project manager, Harris County Precinct 2. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I just want to say I'm really grateful for everyone on this call. Brian with HCD and the team there, Veronica and the East End District team, TEI, and everyone who joined us today. I'm really excited about this project.
Veronica, and I'm not sure if Patrick's here or not.
I'm Veronica with the East End District, and soon you'll get to meet Patrick Izell, who is double booked at the moment, but will join us shortly.
Great, thank you. All right, then we've got a pretty big community advisory group, but we'd like to do introductions for everyone that's here today. So if you don't mind just going down the list, starting on the left, and then we'll move to the table on the right. Just keep an eye out for your name. So Tony, would you kick us off?
Sure will. Tony Allender with Reinvestment Zone number 23, Harrisburg Redevelopment Authority. Also East End resident. So very excited about the program and excited about being able to extend bicycle service throughout the area.
Is Priscilla available? I'm not sure if she was able to make it. Maybe we'll move on to Melissa.
Hi, my name is Melissa Beeler. I'm a planner at the City of Houston Planning and Development Department. I'm also the liaison for the Bicycle Advisory Committee, and I look forward to extending our high comfort network throughout the East End, having some real priority projects that can get done hopefully the next couple of years would be great. And I also really look forward to engaging more community residents in East End for bike planning in Houston.
Do we have Councilmember Cisneros or someone from her office? All right. I know that I saw Nick Hellier join from Bike Houston.
Hey everybody, my name is Nick Hellier. I'm a board member with Bike Houston. I actually started my career as the constituent services manager for the District I office in the East End. So I'm excited about all the work that the neighborhood people have done over the years in the civic clubs and super neighborhoods, and all their work is coming to fruition with this on a bike plan. So I'm excited to see that happen.
Great. How about Stephen Deutsch?
Hi, everybody. I'm Stephen Deutsch. I'm the Wraparound Resource Specialist here at Navarro Middle School. And I've been here for 3 years now, and I'm excited about this initiative. And I look forward to seeing it happen.
Thanks, Stephen. Is Amy Din here? How about Tommy? I think I see you.
Yes, my name is Tommy Garcia Prats. I'm one of the founders and owners of Finca Tres Robles, which is an urban farm in the 2nd Ward. Previous president of the super neighborhood and just very active in the East End. And I'm excited about the project to have a cohesive plan for, biking in the East End and making it relevant and practical for the average resident.
Great, thank you. Lisa.
Hey everyone, I'm Lisa Griff at the Houston Parks Board, and I am interested in, of course, seeing connections to the Bayou Greenways trails and between the Bayou Greenways trails in the East End.
Great, thank you. How about Mara?
Hi there, everybody. My name is Mara Gomez. I am here on behalf of Link Houston. We're a nonprofit that advocates for a robust and equitable transportation network so that all people can reach opportunity. And I'm looking forward to expanding the connectivity and accessibility here in the East End. Thank you.
Great. Is Ian Lovacek with us?
I can't hear
You're
you.
still muted, Ian.
We can't hear you, Ian.
All right, we might come back to you, Ian. Jessica Halsey. How about Frank Carbars?
Testing.
Is that Ian? Go ahead, Ian.
Oh, did it start working all of a sudden? Great, can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so I'm Ian Lovacek. I'm a managing engineer in public works. I'm also a resident of the area, so I have come from this to do 2 different directions, but I think they're aligned. Very excited about it.
Great, thank you. But is Sarah available from East Lawndale? All right, Laura Mannion. I know we've got Joaquin Martinez here.
Good afternoon, Joaquin Martinez. I'm with Councilmember Robert Gallego's office. Born and raised in the East End, still have family in the East End, now in the Hobby Airport area, but definitely cycling from Hobby to the East End. And so I'm really looking forward to making sure that we're able to help with public engagement, but then also how do we expand the trails beyond the Greenway Bayou that are soon to be completed as well. So excited and ready to hit the ground running.
Great, thank you, Joaquin. Kevin Moore.
Hi, I'm Kevin Moore, president of the Eastwood Civic Association, and I've been about a 15-year resident of the Eastwood community. We're looking forward to increased connectivity and safety for bike riding, in particular being able to get into downtown in a safe manner and be able to connect to some of the green spaces that have been developed around the area. It's been a few years since I've tried riding a bike on any of the main streets, and it was absolutely terrifying, even given that we had bike lanes. Kind of hoping to see some slower or reduced traffic for both pedestrians and bikers, and also kind of strengthening some of the existing community feel. So.
Great, thank you, Kevin. How about Jorge Olvera?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jorge Olvera del Centro Corazon. Pleasure being here, and look forward to the work. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. Do you mind just saying one sentence about what El Centro del Corazon is for people who may not know?
Absolutely, yeah. No, we're engaged in providing healthcare at an affordable price to community residents. We're a nonprofit, and my specific role is in addressing social determinants of health. So transportation is a major one, as well as access to exercise opportunities like biking and cycling.
Awesome, thank you. Is Auburn Pickens here?
Yes, hi, this is Auburn Pickens with Metro, and we are looking forward to seeing more first last mile connections to connect people to Metro services.
Thank you. Ana Ramirez Huerta. All right, how about Mark Solano?
Hi, everyone. This is Mark. I'm a representative of the Houston Country Club Place, which is a neighborhood right next to Gus Wortham, runs down a distance on Lawndale. Additionally, I sit on the board of Greater Houston Complete Streets and also Blueprint Houston. And I believe I'm here because when Joaquin asked who wants to be a part of this, I didn't put my hand down fast enough. So I want to thank everyone for being on the call. I'm really excited to do some great work here for the East End.
Glad to have you, Mark. Jose Solis.
Hi, I'm Jose Solis. I'm the project manager for planning and construction at Buffalo Bayou Partnership. And basically everything that I'm imagining we'll work on with this plan will dovetail directly into the master plan that we finished last year. So I'm really excited to see how the two can move forward together.
Great, yep. All right, Elizabeth Van Horn.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth Van Horn, and I'm an urban planner and public health analyst with Harris County Public Health in the Built Environment Unit. And we're just really excited to help with this process so that we can expand access to healthy, active, affordable transportation.
And last but not least, Judith Villarreal.
Hey everyone, this is Judith. I am part of the Bicycle Advisory Committee. I'm also an avid cyclist. I am co-founder of the East End Bike Ride and the Houston Goes Bike. I love cycling. I've lived throughout the East End for 40 plus years since I came to the United States. And I just want to say thank you for adding me and having me on here.
We're happy to have you. All right, thank y'all for doing that so quickly. And thank y'all for making time to be here today. Just a couple more introductions. We want to just introduce the project team real quick. As I said, I'm Clint McManus. I'm the project manager for the consultant team side, and I work at TEI. I'll pass it off to my coworkers.
Hey, this is Jeff Carlton. I'm a senior principal at TEI. I'll be the principal in charge for this project. And I, avid bike rider, do a lot of riding in the East End, and I see so many people out riding, and my goal for this is to give them many more safe places to do that, so we can get even more people out enjoying all the East End has to offer.
Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea Young. I am a principal associate with TEI, and supporting Clint as deputy on this project. And I'm really excited about this, given all the synergy and existing plans and efforts that we've had going on in the area, and just knowing, after biking around, being around in the East End, there's so many great bike facilities, but they're not connected. So this could be really cool to pursue that further.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Wiggins. I'm also with the TEI team here, and I'm really excited about creating some momentum with this plan. I think East End has got on a really great path, and I think this will get us on the way to seeing some really great things. So thank you all for being here.
Can our tool folks introduce themselves?
Sure. My name is Adam Wood. I'm a senior planner with Tool Design. I am based in our Madison, Wisconsin office, but I'm a native Texan and get to work on projects around the country, and including several things going on in Texas. Our background as a company is we do multimodal planning and design, focusing on biking and walking and transit access. One of the things I'm really excited about in this project is it hits on one of the things I really like, which is finding ways to make big impacts with very targeted investments. And so I'm excited at finding what are those handful of projects that could hit the ground quickly and could make a big difference.
All right, and finally, our Tech a Lot folks, last but not least.
Oh, hi guys. My name is Carolina Ramos and I work with Decolot. We do community outreach. And I don't know, I've recently got a bike, so I'm super excited to ride some of those bikeways. Yeah, and I'm excited to do that.
Great.
Hi everyone, my name is Yuka. I'm also with the Colot and I'm very excited about this project. When I first moved to Houston 7 years ago from the Valley, I landed in the East End. I've worked as a community health worker in the East End and have worked with lots of different community organizations. And so I'm excited to kind of put all of these bike pieces together and work on the project with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Yuka. Did we miss anybody?
I think it's just Gato and I, yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, let's move forward then. So as I mentioned, we wanted to briefly discuss the purpose of the plan and how we're going to achieve that purpose. So really the goal is to develop a fully connected, high comfort network of bikeways throughout the entire East End. And the purpose for doing that is to expand mobility options for people who live in the East End so that they have additional safe and comfortable ways to get where they need to go. But also to provide some healthy, active transportation options so that folks can use it for recreation and exercise as well as other types of trips. So the scope, our task list essentially is split into three basic buckets. The first is existing conditions and opportunities. So this is where we are now. We're just trying to understand the existing mobility data, demographic data, and what we know about the transportation network as it is right now. And then what are some opportunities given that data that stand out to us for where we might want to connect bikeways. The second bucket is what we call the concept plan, which is really just where we use what we found in the first task to sketch a dream bikeway network. Where do we think bikeways should go in the East End? And then alongside that, identifying programs and policies that will encourage people and help and support people who may want to use those bikeways and to bike more often. And then finally, we kind of put a nice bow on it in our implementation and final plan task, which is the third one. So there we'll use the finalized concept plan and we'll say, this is how we're going to implement it. This is the timing we're going to use. These are the estimated, planning level costs. And then we'll put that all in a final plan document that we can share with the public as the plan is finished. And so each of these buckets has its own public engagement component, which we'll talk about later, but that is the scope. And here's the project timeline. You can see we kind of got started in late September, and we're hoping to finish around April in the spring in 2021. You can see the blue bars are the three tasks, task 1, 2, and 3. And under each of the tasks, those orange bars show the community events that'll take place. The green bars are you guys, the community advisory group meeting. So the first one you can see there is happening right now. Our website, we're hoping to launch soon. We're still trying to iron out a few things with Google Translate to make sure that it's visible in Spanish as well as English. But that'll be launched soon. And then you can also see the other thing on there is the community survey that's going to be released at the same time as the first community event. So we're on a pretty quick schedule, but we're moving. So what do we need from you guys to make this plan better? So while we all love the East End, some of the people on the project team live in the East End or have lived in the East End, y'all are the real experts. So we're relying on you to guide the plan throughout specific key stages to make sure that we are really getting our recommendations correct and making sure that they serve the community. So we're relying on your community expertise, and also many of you work at agencies that have knowledge of current projects or projects that are coming down the pipe that will impact what happens in the East End. Once we get around to recommendations, we'll really rely on y'all for insight into potential funding and implementation partnerships. And then the last bullet point is really key, and we'll talk about it more later, but we really need your help in pushing particularly the community engagement events. We want to get this on the radars of as many East End community members as possible. So as I showed you in the previous slide, we've got 4 community advisory group meetings there in green. So on the right here, you can see what those 4 meetings are going to be. Today, we're just kicking off the plan to let y'all know what's happening. And then we'll meet again in early January to go over our community facts book, which is where we have analyzed that mobility data, demographic data, and transportation, kind of the existing transportation system. At that point, we'll also take a look at what we've learned so far from the community survey and the mapping tool. So that'll all be in January. Between our January and February meetings is when we're going to take all that information and start drawing out the proposed bikeway network. And so instead of meeting to show y'all that orange box you see there, we're going to send you an email with the proposed bikeway plan so you can spend some time with it and react to it kind of outside of a meeting setting, and you can send us feedback that way so that when we meet in February for the 3rd time, we can review that all together and talk about priorities based on your feedback. And then in April, we will use that time to present the final recommendations and discuss and get feedback on the implementation strategy. So that's what we need you guys for. I don't know why I keep saying you guys, because I always say y'all, but y'all, we need y'all for that. And I'm going to pass it over to Jeff to talk about our guiding principles for our approach.
Thanks, Clint, and thanks everyone for being here. It looks like we have a great group. And so I want to talk a little bit about kind of the way we're approaching this plan. And one of the questions that we always ask is if we want lots of people to use these investments in community infrastructure and getting the benefits that we know biking can bring to a community, who are we really? And so here is kind of some background about how populations tend to break out in terms of their attitudes towards biking. So I'll start from the right. There's often a group, 5-ish% of people that are highly confident. They'll ride anywhere. They don't need, that much in terms of bikeway facilities. They're okay mixing with traffic. But we know that if that's the only people that are riding, that's going to be a very small percentage of people. And that's not fulfilling the goal of giving lots of people access to the benefits of biking. So we also know that there are other groups of folks. Some, one would call somewhat concerned, interested in biking, will bike, but tend to want to do it where they have, more of a bike lane, or they'll use the trail system. But you having trouble hearing me? So what I see, I'll try and talk louder. But we want those groups, so every time we make investments in infrastructure, we get more and more people access to the benefits. And then there's this large group of 50+% of people, call them interested but concerned. And they really, a lot of people want to ride. They may have a bike in their garage from like a previous MS-150 ride, but they, I think I even heard it in some of your comments earlier. They're find riding on the street challenging. We'd love to have trails everywhere, but we don't. And then there's a whole set of other people that don't want to bike at all. But even some of those folks really see the benefits of bike infrastructure and a bike network. And so we are trying to think about holistically. But if we want to get lots and lots of people out riding, we want to think about the full spectrum of who's likely to ride. Next slide, please. And so one of the ways we do that, and it's a term you'll probably hear frequently throughout this plan, is this plan is intended to be developed for people of all ages and abilities. And that means we're building a bikeway network that is comfortable for that whole spectrum of folks who want to ride. And also, we want to think about it as a network. So in terms of all ages and abilities, the thing we want to do is keep separate bikes from high speed traffic, from high volume traffic. Or if they're going to share the street, that's going to be on a street with low volume, low speed, more neighborhood context that we've designed to be appropriately for sharing. Because we know not every street has the room or the ability to add a dedicated bikeway. And so some of the kind of criteria that we'd like to use are in that table on the right, which is from NACTO. It's National Association of City Transportation Officials guidelines of what all ages and abilities bikeways mean. And if you've seen some of the new bikeways that have been implemented in Houston, in downtown, even some in the East End, like on Polk, they've used this criteria to try and define what the treatments are and to get more people out riding. The second piece of that is we want this to be a network. So one of the recipes for frustration is to just build like one segment of bikeway, but not connect it to things. And then people will say, well, you built the bike infrastructure, no one's using it. The way that cities have been able to encourage lots of people to use their network, get out and ride, is to really implement networks and try to implement them relatively quickly in a concurrent timeline. Because that gives you access to a whole wealth of opportunities of where you can and want to go. And so as part of that implementation plan that Clint mentioned, we're going to want to define a set of sort of early opportunity bikeways, but want to think about them as a network. And then we may have some future add-ons that might be more challenging, more transformative, but that it really is thinking holistically about all the places people want to go and trying to get that in place as quickly as possible. Next slide, please. So this is just a little bit of a visualization of what that starts to look like. And you also hear the terms either low stress or the converse of that, high comfort. And so those are the ones on the left in green. So that means on a street that has higher traffic volumes or higher speed, you're physically separating people on bikes from that traffic. And so this is an example on Gray Street that goes 3rd Ward in Midtown in Houston, not far from the East End, where we have those concrete barriers that keep the bikes separate from the vehicles. The lower left corner is a neighborhood street. So not everything has to have a bike lane to be high comfort or low stress, but that street, because of things like traffic circles or speed cushions, other types of design treatments, is very comfortable for a wide range of people to ride. And I often think about, I have two teenage girls, that's who I really want to be out riding. If we're designing for them that they feel comfortable to be outside enjoying the infrastructure, then we've been successful. Conversely, on the right, that's more of a high stress, low comfort situation. We're going to try and avoid those as much as possible. And we all know that in Houston, we have lots of bike lanes that sort of don't really meet that high comfort or low stress threshold. So even the ones that exist, we're going to want to think about how we improve them. So those are some of the key principles and some of the terminology we'll be using through this plan. If there's others, or if there's ever a question about some of those stuff, we'll try to avoid lingo as much as possible. But please raise your hand and say, hey, can we talk a little bit more about the terminology and the principles? So thanks. I'll turn it back over. Does it go to Chelsea now, Clint, or back to you?
No, it's back to me. I appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you. So given that, we wanted to just briefly cover what we know about the study area, some of the things that we think are really important about the study area, knowing that many of you are much more intimately familiar with it than we may be, although we've been biking around a lot and refamiliarizing ourselves and familiarizing ourselves with the East End streets. So as you can see on the screen, the study area, which is in beige there, covers the full extent of the East End district boundary. So that's about 16 square miles, pretty large. And it encompasses multiple neighborhoods like the 2nd Ward, Magnolia Park, Lawndale, Eastwood, Pecan Park. And some of the other defining features are access to transit. So the Metro Rail Green Line runs right into the heart of the East End district and terminates at the Magnolia Transit Center, and will eventually, Metro Next has it eventually extending all the way to Hobby. It's also crossed by two major bayous, Buffalo and Brays Bayou, as you see. It's got many great parks like Mason Park, Tony Marone Park, Eastwood Park, and dozens of HISD schools. It's a place that historically has been defined by industry along Buffalo Bayou and the Ship Channel, which comes with many railroads that crisscross the study area. And certainly not the least of its characteristics is that it's a historic Hispanic and Latino community and has been for generations. And just to say a little bit about the people who live in the East End, as I just mentioned, you can see there in the bottom right, in the blue shows the race and ethnicity for the East End compared to the rest of Harris County. And 87% of residents in the East End, according to the census, identify as Hispanic. So that's the vast majority of residents. And then if you draw your attention to the left side of the screen, first of all, something that is important for us to pay attention to is that about 27% or over a quarter of the households live in poverty. And I didn't put it on this slide, but I should have. There's also about 1 in 5 households has limited access to a vehicle. So that's important for us to know because research shows that people who live in poverty are already more likely to ride their bike, more likely to ride transit. So many people may be using their bike to get to light rail stations and bus stops. So ideally, a well-planned bike network should be most beneficial for those exact households. So we want to serve the people who are already living in the East End. And then you can also see the 2 pie charts at the bottom left. They tell us something important about the community and our outreach efforts there. So 30% of households, you can see, only speak Spanish. And then to the right, nearly 1 in 3 have no internet access, which was something that was, that was a big learning moment for me about the East End. So that means that our contact with the community has to be bilingual as much as possible, and we also have to do the best to get information out in ways that don't involve the internet as much as possible, which is an extra challenge in the time of COVID, given that we're all distant and it's hard to do face-to-face events, not recommended. And so finally, on the top right, I think also this pie chart shows us something really important, which is that this is the result of the regional travel demand model. So the dark and the light orange sections, which together account for 42%, those represent 129,000 daily trips in the East End. And these trips are trips that are less than 3 miles. So they're short trips, which are comfortable to do on a bike. So really what this says is that having a high comfort connected bike network is actually something that could be really useful in this community, and there's a lot of latent demand for it. So this map shows the existing, and then in the dotted lines, you can see some of the under construction bike facilities in the East End. So the thicker green lines, those are trails and off-street facilities like the ones along Brays and Buffalo Bayou. And then there's also, for example, Harrisburg and Sunset Trails. Those are built in abandoned rail lines. And then you've got the darker or the thicker blue lines that show dedicated bike lanes. The thick ones are designed to be high comfort. Jeff kind of mentioned that a lot of the ones that have been designed recently, those are the thick blue lines on the map. Right now, those are almost entirely outside of the study area in downtown, some in the 5th Ward and the 3rd Ward. And those are really a product of recent investments by Harris County Precinct 1 and the City of Houston. And then the pink or magenta lines, those are the shared on-street bikeways, like the ones that Jeff mentioned in the photo. These are places where bikes and cars can share the street, and it's typically on slower neighborhood streets.
Hey,
so you can really see.
I just wanted to add that Precinct 2 was also a partner in some of those recent bikeways where it is within Precinct 2. So.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that, Jeff. There's already precedent to investment in the area, but so you can see, the East End doesn't yet have a defined network, even of low comfort bikeways, but there's a lot of potential, and those recent investments in the area kind of give us a great jumping off point. Something that we can never lose sight of is safety. So these maps on the left shows the density of all crashes in the East End for the past 5 years, and then on the right shows crashes involving people biking. And so in the past 5 years, there have been 65 crashes involving people biking, and that accounts for, of those crashes, about a quarter of them involved a fatality or a serious injury, which is an incredibly high rate compared to just the total, compared to all crashes in general. So although there are fewer bike crashes, they tend to be more serious, or they tend to cause serious injuries and fatalities at a higher rate. So in both of these cases, for both maps, we can see that intersections and roads with high vehicle speeds and volumes pose a clear safety hazard for people biking. So our plan will definitely need to address these hotspots as barriers. It helps that both the City of Houston and Harris County have recently adopted Vision Zero commitments. So that means that they're developing plans and actions to reduce traffic fatalities to zero by a certain date. So those initiatives are going to be really helpful for us as we develop our recommendations. And this last map that I wanted to show y'all, it reiterates that we're working in a place that has a lot of physical barriers already, and that's something that we need to make sure to keep in mind throughout the planning process. So you can see the bayous are highlighted in dark blue here. The interstate highway system managed by TxDOT is that pinkish red. And then the rail system is in orange. And so in each of these cases, these are physical barriers where that have limited crossings. And oftentimes the crossings are those high speed, high volume vehicle streets. So this is something that we definitely have to contend with, but is something that we know the Eastern District has kept in mind in the past. So I'm going to take a break and pass it over to Chelsea real quick to talk about previous plans and projects.
Hey everyone, I'm Chelsea again. We just wanted to make note of all of the previous plans and projects that will help to, that kind of set the stage for what we're doing with the East End Bike Plan. And a lot of you guys on the call have been parts of these plans, or at least aware of them on some level. 4 of them are livable center studies that were either done directly in the East End or adjacent or with another, partner or two. The bottom right one is the first livable center study done now over 10 years ago. And it is one of the most implemented out of all of HJC's livable center studies, which is really exciting. And there's been momentum with new sidewalks, new transportation infrastructure, community infrastructure. And the most recent one in the East End area is actually the Live Viva Greater Eastwood study. That we've had a few of you guys as a part of the stakeholder group on that as well. So you're aware that there's a lot of momentum in this area. That study should be done in the next month, which is great, and we can build off of the quick wins from that project to support the bike implementation from this plan. Also wanted to mention the Jose is here with Buffalo Bayou Partnership, the Buffalo Bayou East and the East Extension efforts that look at not only enhancements to Buffalo Bayou trails, but kind of how people get there from the adjacent communities or regionally. And then last but not least, the Bayou Greenways and Beyond the Bayous. Lisa Griff from Parks Board is here. All the efforts that have gone into those two Houston Parks Board efforts are also great to use as leverage and to build from as part of the study. Back to you, Clint.
Thanks, Chelsea. All right, so I know we have just a little over 10 minutes left. I want to close out talking about engagement, since that's such a critical part of this plan. We have a few different engagement components, the first of which is the website. So we are creating a project-specific website for the East End Bike Plan that's conveniently named eastendbikeplan.com. We're really, as I mentioned before, we're really close to rolling this out. We just are waiting on a couple of things related to Google Translate and making sure that we get our folks that are the clients and our translation folks to be able to take a look at it. But that website will be our one-stop shop for the plan. So not only will it be a place where people can go to find out information about the plan, but it will also be where the plan survey and the mapping tool live. So these will be critical for our first community event. And then we'll also be posting plan documents there, and video recordings like this meeting will live on the website as well. So in addition to that, as you can see in number 2, we have our community launch coming up. This is December 5th, so it's the week after next. December 5th is a Saturday. We're going to be out in the East End in 3 locations. We'll be on the Navigation Esplanade set up there. We'll be in Mason Park around the bridge. And then the last location is actually our central location, which is on the Harrisburg Trail at Bryan Street. There's a little parklet there. And B-Cycle is going to join us there with some electric bikes for that location. So the purpose of the launch is not only to let folks know what's happening with the plan, but really to use that as a way to drive survey responses and interactions with the map. So we'll have maps there for people to draw on and let us know where they want to see bikeways and where they feel unsafe in the neighborhood. And then we'll also have iPads for people to take surveys. The other additional part of the plan, we're going to have a bike tour, a mini bike tour that's going to last about an hour. That's leaving from the Harrisburg and Bryan Street parklet. And it's bingo or loteria themed. So on the tour, people will be stopping and people will be able to cross out their loteria card to get 4 in a row. And we're hoping to give away some prizes for folks who complete that and take a picture and share it on social media. So that's the long and the short of the community launch event. Obviously, all of it we have planned to be socially distanced, so making sure that people have access to hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes and masks and 6 feet of distance. That'll be a big part of it. But we are going to we're going to try to get as many people from the community out for that one on December 5th.
Hey, Glenn, we have a couple comments in the chat, just whenever you get a second.
Yeah, thank you, Chelsea. I'll just answer those right now. So Judith asked, will you make Facebook events for these 3 locations? And how will the community know about these events? So we will be making a Facebook event. The precinct, Harris County Precinct 2 and the East End District will be sharing those events on their Facebook pages. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we need from y'all in a second. That will be the primary way. Social media is the primary way that we will get information out about these 3 events. As I mentioned before, there's many households in the East End don't have access to the internet. So we're also planning to canvass a couple of targeted spots that show areas with high lack of internet access. So we're planning to canvass those areas, I believe next weekend, is try to hit some of the key businesses there and talk to folks and let them know about the community events. We are working on, a lot of this has happened really quickly, so we're getting our documents translated and social media posts up and going soon. So we plan to get the first posts out next week. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a second, but I did want to finish for this slide. We'll close out the plan with 2 additional community meetings. These will just be online events, one in February and one in April. It's possible something could change with the pandemic and we're able to do these, have an in-person component to these, but right now we're planning just online for those. And then, of course, I just wanted to mention we have Tech-A-Lot on our team, who you met some of their team members before. They're helping us throughout the plan with translation and interpretation. And so and this kind of gets to Judith, to your question a little bit more. We do need some help from you, community advisory group members, for getting outreach for particularly the event that's coming up on the 5th. So first, I wanted to say everyone is welcome to attend the event. We would love to have y'all come out to one or all three. If you want to bike to each of the 3 stations, we'd love to see you out there. It would be great just to have y'all talking to community members and letting them know, hey, I'm a community advisory group member, and then I support this plan, and this is why. That's always great to have folks out there. If you can't, we understand. We're going to have the stations fully staffed. But the second thing, which I think is just as important, is help promoting this on social media and in your networks, even outside of social media. So we'll be sending a follow-up email early next week to everybody with some text that you can use. But as I mentioned, the precinct and the district will be sharing the Facebook event and some posts on their Facebook and Twitter pages. So if your organization is able to repost those or boost those in any way to make sure that the people who follow you are aware of the event, that would do an incredible amount of work in getting the word out. And then in addition, if you have something like a newsletter or an email list or something to that effect, we will have language similar to what's in the posts that y'all can use for that as well. And we're open to ideas, particularly around the groups who may not have access to the internet. So I will send out, like I mentioned, an email next week with a reminder to help us boost the posts and some further instructions and language that y'all can use. But I will reiterate, the key thing will be to kind of repost what the precinct and the district are already doing. That's the easiest way. They'll already have the language approved and just ready to repost there. We'll go over this again for the online meetings that come in the future in February and April, but that'll be something that we can talk about at that point. Does anybody have any questions, particularly on this or anything else related to the plan?
I have a question.
Sure.
Maybe I missed it, I'm not sure, but the surveys that you were discussing, are those surveys going to be passed out? How are they going to be passed out again?
Yes, so at the community events, we will have iPads at each of the stations for people to just take the survey there. If someone has a phone, they can just scan a QR code or go to the website and do it that way if they don't want to use the iPad. And then the survey will live on the website after the events. So we plan to continue to drive people to the survey and the mapping tool even after the event day.
And the reason why I ask, because since there is a big digital divide here in the East End, the schools, I know we can use our own Wi-Fi connection, and since most of the students are engaged virtually, this could be an opportunity where the survey can be passed out to the students during elective times, morning times, whenever there's not a class. So if there's a survey specific for students, I know the schools, we could possibly pass those out to the students as maybe as a class activity, class project, extra credit. So yeah, that's the reason for my question.
I love that idea, and I think we can definitely make that happen. The survey should be accessible to everyone, so definitely students should be able to take it, but I would love to think through with you some good ways to get that into the students' hands specifically. So we can talk offline about that.
Maybe a virtual activity as well. So I know you're talking about Loteria, but that's in person, but maybe like a virtual type activity that will engage the students and get more participation from the students as well. Kind of like maybe like like Where's Waldo type event or Carmen Sandiego, you know, kind of type activity that can be done virtually for the students.
Excellent.
Maybe you could do maybe you could set up a scavenger hunt tied to murals and things like that, based on the that are along the bike lanes and other points of interest to kind of, you know, get them out on the bikes.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what we're trying to recreate with the Loteria. It is a scavenger hunt in a way. So that's great, and I think would be really easy to kind of market, for lack of a better term. I don't really like that term, but to get into the hands of students, make sure that they can participate.
Yeah, you want to talk a little bit more about the Loteria idea? I don't know if everyone, you know.
Sure.
Exactly. Just
yeah,
so
no,
it's
I
clear
appreciate
what's
that.
going on.
Yeah, so the Loteria, for those who may not be familiar, it's a game that's really a lot like bingo. So the goal is to get 4 across, 4 down, or we're also allowing 4 diagonal. So there are different images on each card, each space, and we've created a card, a Loteria card that has things that you can find in the East End, particularly along the routes that we have created for the tour. So those include like the Mason Park Bayou Bridge, the Navigation Esplanade, train station, tacos, different fun things that anyone can see throughout the East End. So that is definitely kind of in the spirit of a scavenger hunt, just with that extra bingo or Loteria style play. I recognize that we are 1 minute past the hour, so I know that some of you have to jump off for other meetings. I did want to this is my contact information. I think you should all have my email just from the event invitation, but please feel free to reach out to me via email or phone. I'm happy to talk to any of you about ideas or answer any questions that you may have. And we're looking forward to working together. All right, and with that, I'm going to close out the meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clint.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Super exciting.
Thank y'all. Bye.